Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. Let me just go around the table and introduce who we have with us today. Starting at my far right, Tom Prendergast is the chairman and CEO of the MTA. Patrick Foy, who is the executive director of the Port Authority. Jim Malatras, director of state operations. Senator Jack Martinez, Senator Martin Golden, Senator Carl Marcelino, Senator Kemp Hannon, co-leader Senator Jeff Klein, co-leader Senator Dean Skelos, Speaker Sheldon Silver, Assemblymember Gottfried, who will join us, I believe, shortly, Assemblyman Joe Lentol, Assemblymember Steve Engelbright, Assemblymember James Brennan, Robert Megna, who's the director of the state budget, Major General Patrick Murphy, who is the who runs the National Reserve, Jerry Hauer, who is the Commissioner of Homeland Security, Kevin Gagan, who is the first Deputy Superintendent of State Police. Superintendent Joseph D'Amico couldn't be with us today. We just finished a discussion on security briefings, a security briefing for the state of New York. To give you a little context, as you may recall, last week we had a meeting with Homeland Security head Jay Johnson, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, Mayor Bill de Blasio, to discuss our preparedness in light of the clearly increased tensions with international terrorist organizations, which is undeniable. It's also undeniable that New York is a possible target of terrorist activity, either in retaliation for actions that this country may be taking or as an offensive gesture. Turn on the news any night over the past few weeks, and everyone is well aware of the current threats that this country is facing. It's also clear from history that we learned the hard way that New York is a possible target. You had the World Trade Center bombings in '93. Of course, we've had 9/11. So our responsibility is to make sure we're doing everything that is prudent to be ready, to be prepared, and to anticipate. As I said last week, we had the meeting with the Homeland Security head. And the follow-up to that meeting is going to be a joint New Jersey-New York plan that Governor Christie and I will coordinate, and we said would be announced in 10 days. That takes us to next week. And I think it's important that we have a regional response, and that's why the two states working together, I think, is the appropriate way to do that. What we discussed today was the New York component to that joint plan. And the New York component involves, on the state side, the agencies that are around this table. Obviously, we've been coordinating with the NYPD, with Nassau Police, Suffolk Police, Westchester Police, but primarily the MTA, the Port Authority, those are airports, trains, those are the terminals. The National Reserve, National Guard will be very helpful here, as well as the state police. We have put together a comprehensive plan that will strengthen security to a level we believe is significant, but is also appropriate. We'll be increasing security measures all across the board. The attitude has been better to err on the side of caution, and that's just what we've done. As the increase in the security measures will have a budgetary impact, I asked the leaders in the Assembly and the Senate to be part of the planning, first on a substantive level. I want the advantage of their expertise and their judgment putting together the plan, as the plan will have a budgetary impact on the state's finances. I wanted them to be fully apprised of the cost of the plan and the impact on the state budget. This is an unusual way to discuss state finances. There's an annual budget process, which is very rigorous. But these are unusual times, and this is an unusual situation. And I wanted the ability to mobilize state resources quickly, so we have the personnel and the resources we need. I wanted to make sure the legislature approved those measures, and that was the point of this briefing. I want to thank my colleagues, not just the commissioners on the state agencies who have been doing a great deal of work over these past couple of weeks, scrambling to put together a new security protocol, but I want to thank Senator Skelos and Senator Klein and Speaker Silver and the colleagues in the Senate and the Assembly for taking the time to go through these briefings and for their courtesy and professionalism in going through this unusual matter and giving us their approval so that we can move forward. Government is here to serve the people of the state during times of crisis and emergency. That's when we really see how well government can work. And in this situation, I want to thank them once again for their cooperation. To be clear, we have no specific credible threat. There's no knowledge that we have that could cause anxiety on anyone's behalf. This is just a general precaution given the obvious situation and obvious facts. That's what we were responding to last week. That's what I'll be responding to next week when we issue a joint plan with Governor Christie and myself. With that, let me turn it over to Senate Leader Dean Skelos for his comment.
Thank you very much, Governor. Let me start by saying thank you for inviting us all here today, and certainly the commissioners and the generals, and forgive me if I'm not using all the titles correctly, for the great job that you've done in putting this plan together and certainly preparing this state to protect itself so that we do not see a type of tragedy that occurred on 9/11. As far as I'm concerned, and I know my conference, the issue of dollars is really irrelevant. It's about protecting our citizens, and that is my priority, and certainly that's not what I'm going to question the governor or any of the commissioners who put that plan together. There's no question that, and the governor's right, it appears there's no threat immediately, but there's no question that terrorist groups, whether it's Hamas, ISIS, or other ones, they want to kill us. They hate us, they want to hurt us, and they want to kill us. And this is I think, a very forward-looking plan to prevent, or try to prevent, this type of tragedy occurring once again. So, Governor, I thank you for bringing us together. I thank you for what I believe is a well-thought-out plan. And, anytime you need us to get together again, we'll be there to support you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Senator Skelos. Now to Senate Co-Leader Jeff Klein.
Thank you again, Governor. I think everyone remembers the trip that I was honored to be on with the governor and my colleagues up here today. And certainly one of the most sober messages I received during that trip was from the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, who looked us all in the eye and said that Israel is first. The West, particularly the United States, is next as far as the war on terror is concerned. That was sobering, and I'm proud that the governor and his administration is taking action and taking action quickly. The only thing we will, of course, say about the briefing is I was very impressed. All of the agencies represented here, the Port Authority, the MTA, and all of local law enforcement and state law enforcement, is really coordinated. It's very difficult to coordinate government agencies, but they have done an amazing job in doing that with something as sensitive as our security. So I wholeheartedly support the plan. I think it's a very comprehensive plan. I think it's going to keep the residents of New York State more safe and secure. And thank you for letting me be part of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Speaker Sheldon Silver.
First, let me acknowledge the members of the Assembly who participated in this conversation today. Assemblyman Joe Lenthal, Chair of our Codes Committee, Assemblyman Dick Gottfried, who chairs our Health Committee, Assemblyman Jim Brennan from Brooklyn, who chairs the Corporations Committee, which has jurisdiction over the MTA and the Port Authority, and Assemblyman Steve Engelbright, who chairs the Government Operations Committee. There's an old saying that precaution must be taken in advance. As the Assemblyman whose hometown includes the World Trade Center, I want to commend Governor Cuomo for taking the lead and working with Governor Christie to initiate a review of safety and security precautions throughout the metropolitan region. And speaking for my community, I want to also thank Superintendent D'Amico, Commissioner Howard, for the work they've done and are continuing to do to keep New Yorkers safe. New Yorkers have long known that this great international city is a top target for terrorist groups. The 9/11 attacks taught us painful lessons about the need for vigilance and about the need for communication and cooperation between our law enforcement and national security entities and among all of our first responders. As the 9/11 Museum and Memorial tells us so poignantly, terrorists do not care about age or national origin, religion, or political affiliation. Theirs is a language of fear and intimidation. I think our recent trip to Israel that Senator Klein mentioned, the four of us, gave us a sense of the stark reality of just how far terrorists are continuing to go to impose their will on free and democratic peoples. In fact, just days ago, federal prosecutors charged a Rochester, New York man with recruiting for the ISIS terrorist group. That's why reviewing and establishing protocols is so critical. Just in front of us are the Jewish High Holy Days, time when our police are stretched to their limit here in the city and Nassau and Suffolk counties. And it's also a time when the UN is having its meeting that further stretches our police to the limit. So I think this is a great opportunity, a great time. The governor provided great leadership in this critical time to set forth a coordinated plan to respond to the potential threats that may exist. So I want to commend the governor and the entire team for their leadership and in putting together a plan. And I just want to make one more point. Fighting terrorism is a dangerous duty overseas, and it's a dangerous duty here at home. The men and women of law enforcement, our state police, NYPD, the MTA police, all of our law enforcement, they put their lives on the line every day, and it's their vigilance, their heroism that enables us to have the quality of life we enjoy in this state. We can't take for granted that they can stop each and every terrorist plan, and we have a responsibility as citizens to be vigilant, to work with law enforcement, to keep our families and our communities safe. So, speaking for the Assembly, we're ready, we're willing to do all we can to assist in carrying out this mission, and the cost of it is just secondary to the safety of the people that are involved. Thank you, Governor.
Well said. Thank you very much. Questions? Any?
On topic only?
Yeah, Governor, can you just give us a little bit more about the National Guard being called up, what kind of numbers you're looking at, and where are people going to see it?
Let me say this, because Zach, obviously, I don't want to tell you too much about the briefing that we had was confidential, and it would defeat the purpose to tell you too much about the preparations. But there will be hundreds of people, additional people deployed across the system. There will be National Guard who will be called up, who are already in service to some level, but that will be greatly increased. And they will be system-wide. They'll be in large congregation points, they'll be at Port Authority sites, they'll be at MTA sites, They'll be at airports, Penn Station, Grand Central, all throughout the system, and they'll be highly visible. And that's only one component. Literally every agency that is around this table has a part that is addressing this issue. So you'll see a heightened presence from every agency around the table. Marcia?
Governor, can you give us some idea of how much this is going to cost, or what your targets are in terms of the amount of extra money you may ask the legislature to approve as part of the budget?
In the short term, it's going to cost in the tens of millions of dollars, let's say that. It is a significant financial burden. And that's why I wanted to speak to the leaders about it personally. And I applaud their statesmanship, and I think they're right. One of the top jobs for government is public safety, and we know what we're looking at, and the cost comes second. This is a smart, thorough plan. Obviously, you need prudence, and it has to be rational and realistic, but it is an aggressive plan, and let's say tens of millions in the short term.
Can I just follow up? Could you tell us what message you're trying to send to people who might want to do harm to New York, which is already the #1 terrorist?
I believe that this plan, which literally we're coordinating with New Jersey as we speak, will formally announce it next week, Governor Christie and myself, but we're already beginning implementation of this plan. I think it's safe to say, Marcia, that this state and this metropolitan area will never have been as well protected as it will be when this plan is in operation.
Governor, how soon can we see this heightened presence in the state?
You will. It is starting. Literally, it has started. Actually, Marvin, but it's formally announced next week with Governor Christie and myself.
So that's when we'll see the presence after you make the announcement?
It's starting now. It's ramping up, but it will be fully operational next week.
You mentioned no specific credible threat, but a lot of times in the early days, right after 9/11 attacks, we heard a lot about chatter and information that you get from security agencies, federal. Is any of that factoring into this, or?
Let's just say, Zach, we have there are intelligence briefings, but when we say there is no specific credible threat, there is no one piece of information that we are acting on. But I think it's safe to say, as anyone who reads a newspaper or watches TV, that this is a heightened, tensions are heightened internationally, and that this city and this state are at the top of most target lists. So prudence would dictate that you take it seriously and you act.
Governor, are you worried about concerns of over-militarization of security forces, especially in light of what's happened in Ferguson?
Well, yeah, I said that's a much different situation, right? That was about a domestic issue, a domestic dispute. That's not what this is. But no, and short answer is, with this plan, I'm not worried about over-militarization. The National Guard has always played a role in 9/11 and post 9/11 in security. So this will not be a new precedent.
What about harassment towards Muslim Americans from security forces? Is that a couple issues?
Well, that's where you have to be constantly vigilant. But I don't have there's no reason why I would have any worry about that beyond the obvious sensitivity.
Governor, does this plan plug any gaps in security that you discovered, or does it simply beef up security where you think the city or the state is most vulnerable?
Yeah, we don't think we had gaps in the system, right? NYPD, MTA, Port Authority, these agencies do an incredible job. So it's not that we had gaps, it's we want to increase the prophylactic effect, the preventative effect. We want to harden targets and increase security basically all across the board. But no, not that we had a gap that, or a failing that we needed to close. That's not what this was about.
Governor, this week, the Department of Defense noted groups like ISIL's ability to recruit and recruit Americans through social media elements like Twitter, Facebook, things along those lines. Even on a local level, is there a digital part of this comprehensive plan that you're looking at?
Yeah, I'd rather not get into details about what the effort actually is, but it is suffice it to say, it is a comprehensive effort.
Last question?
Besides the additional police on the ground, are there any other notable components you can mention what else the state's doing?
Literally every agency that is around this table has resources that they've been using, equipment that they use, personnel that they use, and you will be seeing an increase literally of everything that has been done before to a greater extent, and some tactics and equipment that we haven't used before.
Coordination.
And there's unprecedented coordination among all these agencies. You know, as Senator Klein mentioned, coordination is one of the most difficult tasks when you have this many agencies. So that's what we've been focusing on also over the past 2 weeks.
Governor, just one follow. Is this into the foreseeable future? Is there a sunset on it, or how do you determine?
The way we left it is this is a several-month plan, and we'll reevaluate at that time and see where we are.
So Governor, is it possible that if you decide to extend the plan, that it would cost more than the tens of millions?
Yes,
of dollars?
definitely. Definitely. And Marcia, it is something that people should think about, you know. During the briefing, we talk about a new normal when it comes to climate change, and we talk about being constantly on guard with a higher frequency of natural disasters. New York didn't have hurricanes, didn't have tornadoes, didn't have floods. During my term as governor, we've had 12 federally declared emergencies, which is unheard of. But that's the new normal, right? There's also a new normal when it comes to terrorism. I don't believe we ever go back to a time when we don't have to worry about this threat. I believe it is a situation that's only getting worse. The terrorist groups are getting more sophisticated. They're getting more complex. They're in competition one with the other. So I think this is a situation that we have to live with. We went through 9/11, and that was a moment in time where we all said, and we didn't use the words, but this is the new normal. This is something we have to live with in New York. And we were right then, and we've seen an escalation of it now. I don't know that we'll be at this intensity, because this really is currently intense. But do I think it will ever go away? No, I don't think it will ever go away.
And Governor, are you asking the public to ratchet up their vigilance as well?
Yes, the see something, say something is very important. We'll be speaking about it next week. But, and we'll be speaking to the point that government will do everything that government can do, but citizens are so vital to this effort. And their awareness and their ability to speak up is vital and crucial to this effort.
Do you reopen the budget to pay for this? Or?
No. We did this informally. We're not reopening the budget, but the funds that are necessary for this on a handshake, which is not normally how we do the state budget. We do a handshake after we sign 9,000 pieces of paper. But in this case, on a handshake, we've included it in the budget for next year. Okay? Thank you all very much.